William Shakespeare once said, "All the world's a stage, and all the men and women are merely players. Our life can simply be compared to a theater." Good day, grade 9 learners! Welcome to our arts class. This is Miss Grail, your facilitator for today's lesson.
At the end of this lesson, you are expected to identify the theatrical forms from the different art periods, discuss the history of Western classical theater and their evolution, appreciate the Western theater arts, analyze the pictures and fill in the elements of arts, and design or sketch an illustration showing your own theater design with an idea of ancient, Renaissance, and Romantic theater.
Before we proceed to our main lesson, let us try to answer the multiple choice questions to determine what you already know about our lesson. Are you ready? Bring out your paper, pencil, and module in Arts Week 1 to 4. Now, here's the instruction. Choose the letter of your choice and write it on the space provided before the number in your module. You are given 10 seconds in each item.
Number 1. The theater in ancient Greece consisted of 3 types of drama except 1. A. Comedy. B. Satire. C. Horror. Or D. Tragedy. Your timer starts now. Time is up, and the answer is letter C. Number 2. A large circular or rectangular area at the center part of the theater where play, dance, religious rites, and dancing took place. Letter A. Opera. Letter B. Platform. Letter C. Orchestra. Letter D. Theater. Your timer starts now. Time's up, and the answer is letter C, orchestra. Number 3. Minstrel in medieval era were viewed as blank. A. Dangerous and pagan. B. Christian. C. Horrific. Or D. Troublesome. Your timer starts now. Time is up, and the answer is letter A, dangerous and pagan. Number 4. She is the most prominent supporter during the Renaissance theater. Letter A, Princess Diana. Letter B, Queen Elizabeth I. Letter C, Queen Elizabeth II. Or D, Queen C. Your timer starts now. Time is up, and the right answer is letter B, Queen Elizabeth I. Number 5. Morality plays where the protagonist personifies various moral attributes who try to choose a godly life over the evil happen during blank. A. Medieval era. B. Middle Age. C. Neoclassical era. Or D. Romantic era. Your timer starts now. Time is up, and the right answer is letter B, Middle Age. Are you catching up with us? If yes, very good. For those who haven't, do not worry, because for the next 10 items, you will pause this video and continue answering in your module. Good luck! It's checking time. Number 6, letter D, Theatron. Number 7, letter A, Baroque theater. Number 8, letter C, Neoclassical theater. Number 9, letter D, jugglers. Number 10, letter D, comedy. Number 11, Aeschylus, letter A. Number 12, letter D, Triumvir Pompeii. Number 13, letter C, Commedia dell'arte. Number 14, letter A, acting. And for the last number is letter D, limelight. Congratulations to those who got high scores, and for those who didn't, do not worry because there are more various activities in this module for you to catch up.
In your earlier lesson in Quarter 3, you have learned the arts of classical paintings, sculptures, and architecture. Now it is time to expand your knowledge as you study and learn the basic elements and principles of Western classical theater, specifically ancient theater, Roman theater, medieval theater, Renaissance theater, Baroque theater, Neoclassical theater, and Romantic theater. For better and efficient understanding, there are varied activities for you to accomplish. You are encouraged to read and view the samples of Western theater to appreciate the history, skills, and talents of such theater that they produce. Let us try identifying the pictures presented in your screen if you are familiar with them.
This time, let's try to check if you guess the images right. Number 1. That building is the Vienna State Opera House in Austria. Number 2. That is the Cultural Center of the Philippines. Number 3. That is the Teatro San Carlo Opera House in Naples. And number 4. That is the Coliseum London Opera House in Italy. And number 5. That is the Sydney Opera House in Austria. Did you guess most of the pictures right? Very good!
Well done, learners! From our previous activity, I presume that you already have an idea about what we're going to tackle today. Let us now discuss the theatrical forms of the different art periods. In Western classical theater, there are 7 periods, namely ancient theater, Roman theater, medieval theater, Renaissance theater, Baroque theater, Neoclassical theater, and Romantic theater.
The city of Athens was the center of a significant cultural, political, and military power. During this period, festivals and competitions were usually performed. To honor their gods, the ancient Greeks created wonders that forced them to make extraordinary discoveries. One such breakthrough is the theater built to honor their god Dionysus, the god of wine and fertility. Hidden in the hills of Epidaurus, about 100 miles away from Athens, has dazzled the audiences for about 2,500 years. It was called the Epidaurus Theater. The whole theater building is called the Theatron. The theater was large and is built in an open-air structure constructed on the slope of the hill. It consists of 3 main elements, mainly orchestra, skin, and audience. Behind the actors was the skin, the origin of the word scene. It is a 2-story floor building which was painted as the backdrop of the stage. We also have the Theatron. It is the 14,000 seat located on the slope of the hill where the audiences watch the performers. And the last is the Parados, which is the side entrance of the theater. The theater of ancient Greece consisted of 3 types of drama. We have tragedy, comedy, and satire play. The first type of drama is the tragedy. If we say tragedy, this means tragos or goat and ode. This etymology is a link with the practice of the ancient Dionysus cult. This is the most admired type of play that deals with tragic events with an happy ending or the downfall of the main character. Did you know that it is during this period where the use of mask was introduced and only 3 actors perform in tragedy play? Yes, it is. It was introduced by Thespis, who is known as the father of tragedy. Next type of drama is the comedy plays. It was derived from imitation and have no places or traces of origin. Aristophanes, who wrote most of the comedy plays, among many Lysistrata survived from his plays, is a humorous truth about a strong woman who led a female coalition to end war in Greece. And the last type is the satire play, a genre of ancient Greek drama that preserves the structure and characters of a tragedy while adapting a happy atmosphere and rural background took place. In the 3rd century BC, during the latter part of the Roman Republic, Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus financed a building project with the spoils of war. This was the time that theater play began to gain popularity. The structure came to symbolize Roman culture for centuries. The Theater of Pompeii. The structure was known as the Campus Martius and was the first permanent non-wooden theater of Rome. Behind the theater was a vast quadriporticus that enclosed a public garden complex known as the Porticus Pompeii. It housed great collection of art on display for public viewing and a large fountain in inner crypta. At the farther end of the Porticus Pompeii was a large building for political gatherings. It is within this meeting on the Ides of March when the Senate is waiting for Julius Caesar. After the murder of Caesar, the enraged people of Rome buried the Curia to the ground. Little is left on these ones. It is now covered by the modern roadway. Today, the outline of the theater can be seen in the modern city. The theater has varied and interesting art forms such as performances of the street theater, acrobatics, the staging of the comedies of Plautus, and the high verbally elaborated tragedies of Seneca. The usual themes for Roman theater plays were chariot races, gladiators, and public executions. Comedy plays were popular too in Roman theater from 350 to 251 BC, and women are allowed to perform on the stage. In the darkest times, Roman Empire fell. If you recall your lesson in history or our music lesson in the first quarter, there is a conflict between the government and the church during this period. Catholic Church gained control of basically everything. Throughout Europe, theater performances were not allowed. To keep the theater alive, minstrels, through denounced by the church, performed in markets, public places, and festivals. They traveled from one town to another as puppeteers, jugglers, storytellers, dancers, singers, and other performers in other theatrical acts. These minstrels were viewed as dangerous and pagan. The main theme of these plays are biblical events and stories. When Queen Elizabeth I ascended on the throne in 1953, Renaissance theater, the age of rebirth from chaos to refinement, art was characterized by the return of classical Greek and Roman arts and culture. She wanted to maintain the peace and stability of the kingdom and was known as the most prominent supporter of the theater. During this period, there are some innovations of the stage. Proscenium was developed. This is the area of the theater surrounding the stage opening, an arc frame, and divide the stage from the audience. Second, backdrops for scenery were popularized by the art of painting clothes. And third is the commedia dell'arte, or the comedy of the profession, was developed. It was a quick-witted performance of the characters or players. After Renaissance, Baroque period was marked by the use of technology in current Broadways or commercial plays. The theater crew uses machines for special effects and scene changes, which may be changed in a matter of seconds with the use of ropes and pulleys. Let's watch this video clip from the film Vatel, where they apply the use of machines for special effects. Arts innovation and creativity continuously developed in the Neoclassical period. The theater was characterized by its grandiosity. Costumes and sceneries were highly elaborated. Stages were styled with dramatic arcs to highlight the scenes. Multiple entry points on the stage were evident in many plays. Lighting, sound effects intensify the mood and message of each scene, enhancing the dramatic experience. The idea of backdrops became more noticeable, particularly with the invention of pulley systems that allowed parts to move more quickly across the stage. The concept of the crew room was applied in this period, which means classical concepts and appropriate social behavior must be observed. The first spotlight was used in the US during this period and recalled the limelight. In the 1800 to 2000, melodrama and operas became the most popular theatrical art forms. Acting, scenery, costumes, and dance were important elements of theater. It is usually performed in an opera house accompanied by an orchestra or smaller ensembles.
To transfer your knowledge or skill into real-life situation or concern, let us try to analyze the pictures presented in your screen and fill out the corresponding data on the elements of rites. Choose from picture A or picture B. Good luck! To process what you have learned from our lesson, reflect and answer the following questions. Number 1. Among the different periods of Western classical theater art form that were discussed, which one do you like best and why? Number 2. Name and compare at least one of the Western theaters to Philippine theater. To help you transfer your knowledge or skill into real-life situations and concern, design or sketch an illustration showing your own theater design with an idea of ancient, Renaissance, and Romantic theater. Observe the usage and applications of the elements of arts. The materials needed in designing your own theater are 1/4 white cartolina or illustration board, pencil, paintbrush, or coloring materials like oil pastel, color pencil, watercolor, or paint.
To guide you in your theater design making, please be guided with this rubric following the criteria. We have quality or creativity of artwork, neatness, visual impact, and punctuality. You are given 18 to 20 points if your output is very creative. Your artwork presentation was neat and orderly and conveys an idea and was submitted on time. 15 to 17 points will be given if your output is good. The artwork presentation was mostly neat and orderly. Your artwork mostly conveys the idea and was submitted one day late after the submission. 11 to 13 points will be given if your output is fair. Artwork presentation was somehow neat and orderly and somehow conveys the idea and was submitted 2 days after the submission. And 9 to 10 points will be given if your output is dull, your artwork presentation was disorderly, your artwork did not convey the idea and was submitted 3 days after the submission.
After creating your own theater design, answer the following questions. Number 1, what is the subject of your artwork? Number 2, why did you choose this subject? Number 3, how did you apply the elements of art as to line, shape, texture, and color? Yahoo! Congratulations, learners, for a job well done in theater design making. Now, to test your understanding in achieving the learning competencies, answer the multiple choice questions. Write the letter of your answer on the space provided before the number.
Number 1. The European theater that began in ancient Greece consisted of 3 types of drama except 1. A. Comedy, B. Satire, C. Horror, or D. Tragedy. Number 2. It was called limelight that was used in the US during the Neoclassical period. A. Light, B. Fog light, C. Starlight, or D. Spotlight. Number 3. It is large circular or rectangular area at the central part of the theater where the play, dance, religious rites, and acting took place. A. Theater, B. Orchestra, C. Platform, or D. Stage play. Number 4. The use of theatrical technologies in the Baroque period, which can be seen in the film Vatel in the production of Orpheus by blank. A. William Shakespeare, B. Victor Hugo, C. Claudio Monteverdi, or D. Francisco Balagtas. Number 5. She is the most prominent supporter during the Renaissance theater. A. Princess Magdalene, B. Queen Elizabeth I, C. Queen Victoria, or D. Queen Axie. Number 6. The performers during the medieval era have storytellers, dancers, puppeteers, and blank. A. Artist, B. Comedian, C. Historian, or D. Jugglers. Number 7. The protagonist usually plays morality that attributes a godly life over the evil. A. Middle Age, B. Medieval era, C. Neoclassical era, or D. Romantic era. Number 8. A theater building was called blank. A. Courtroom, B. place of seeing, C. performers, or D. theatron. Number 9. An invention that gives an idea to change the scene and backdrops during Neoclassical period. A. Pulley, B. abacus, C. computer machine, or D. giant wrench. Number 10. The theater was characterized by its grandiosity. Costumes and sceneries were highly elaborated. A. Romantic theater, B. Neoclassical theater, C. Baroque theater, or D. Greek theater. Number 11. The women were allowed to perform on the stage during Romantic period. A. Satire, B. Drama, C. Comedy, or D. Tragedy. Number 12. Due to human desire and need of entertainment, a theater began which is called blank. A. Place of seeing, B. Place of gathering, C. Building, or D. Arena. Number 13. A non-wooden theaters in Rome whose structure was somewhat similar to the Theatron of Athens. A. Parados, B. Proscenium, C. Skin, or D. Triumvir Pompeii. Number 14. An innovation of Renaissance theater were the area surrounding the stage opening. The arch frame divide the stage from the audience. A. Backdrops, B. Commedia del, C. Commedia dell'arte, or D. Skin. And for the last number, which of the following is an important element in theater? A. Acting, B. Audience, C. Director, or D. Stage. Let's check your answers. Number 1. Letter C. Horror. Number 2. Letter D. Spotlight. Number 3. Letter C. Platform. Number 4. Letter C. Claudio Monteverdi. Number 5. Letter B. Queen Elizabeth I. Number 6. Letter D. Jugglers. Number 7. Letter B. Medieval era. Number 8. Letter D. Theatron. Number 9. Letter A. Pulley. Number 10. Letter B. Baroque theater. Number 11. Letter C. Comedy. Number 12. Letter A. Place of seeing. Number 13. Letter C. Skin. Number 14. Letter A. Backdrops. And the last number, letter D. Stage. This time, you're going to count the number of checks that you've got and write it on your modules.
You did well, learners. Give yourself a round of applause. Congratulations! See you in the next lesson.